Sorry, you would do it a little bit differently, but...
Introduce yourself first.
Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen and Jenny. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kevin. My full name is actually Kevin, would you like a drink? And if I see anyone in the bar later, I'd like to use my full name. Now, I asked around for an idea of how long my speech should last, and the general response was about as long as it takes the groom to make love. So with that in mind, it looks like I've gone on too long, and it's been a wonderful audience. No, I am nervous about making this speech. You know, it's about the 6th time today I've stood up with from a warm seat with a sheet of paper in my hand, so I'll try my best. Right. When Stephen asked us to be his best man, or as he put it, best of a bad bunch man, I was initially thrilled at the prospect. However, it didn't take long for this feeling of well-being to dissolve into utter apprehension. As I remember the last time I had to stand up in a room full of people, I was found guilty. With that in mind, I actually rehearsed this speech in front of a live audience at the local old people's home, and I think it went quite well. Well, the old paid themselves in anyway. But on a serious note, I'm very honoured to be doing this job, and in time-honoured best man tradition, I will now do my best to give Stephen the most uncomfortable 10 minutes of his life, which, to be fair, is what he gives Jenny every time they go to bed. As such, it's a great pleasure that I get thanked on Stephen's behalf. The maid of honour, bridesmaids, ushers, flower girl and ring bearer. I think you'll all agree that they look fantastic and done an excellent job to make it such a great occasion. But I'd also like to add my own compliments to Jenny, who I think you'll agree looks absolutely stunning today. And after last night's shenanigans, well, I haven't done a good bad job on Stephen either. Now, Stephen and Jenny have finally got married, for better or worse. This is quite appropriate, as Stephen couldn't have done any better than Jenny, and Jenny couldn't have done any worse. In fact, during the service today, I couldn't help thinking it's funny how history repeats itself. I mean, it was 30 years ago when Roxanne and Nathan were sending their daughter to bed with a dummy, and it's all happening again. All that aside, I've tried to take the responsibility of best man very seriously. I would like to share with you some of the duties I've been involved with. My first duty was to ensure Stephen made it to the church fit and proper, on time and sober. As you can see, this was achieved, but to make sure this was the case, Stephen stayed with me last night, and I can assure you he was in bed early and he slept like a baby. When I say he slept like a baby, that is he wet the bed twice and woke up every hour crying for his mum. Another of my duties was potentially delicate duty of keeping Stephen's ex-girlfriends out of the way. Thankfully, this was also quite easy because there aren't that many and they'd already been deflated and put back in the box. And my last duty was to make sure the wedding goes smooth. So I got myself a pocket guidebook, and in the book I mentioned 3 important parts of today's service. There's the aisle, which was the longest walk you'll ever take. The altar, where the place where the two become one, and the hymn, where the celebration of marriage occurs. Now I think Jenny actually found me book, because I remember I could hear her walking down the aisle saying, "I'll alter him, I'll alter him." I'm shaking.
Have a clue. Have a clue.
Say hello to my little friend.
Let's play something.
Where's the Mexican?
You'll probably not be aware that Stephen and Jenny had great trouble over the seating plan. Fortunately, Stephen gave the room layout some serious thought and took the weight of the decision away from Jenny, as any supportive partner would do. What Jenny doesn't know is that Stephen decided that the seating according to the present cost, so the more expensive present, the closer that person is seated to the front. So I hope you enjoyed the back thank you for the teaspoons and the coasters. Jenny, while I'm doing this, can you just put your left hand on the table?
Oh gosh.
Stephen, can you put your left hand on top of Jenny's? Jenny, can you put your right hand on top of there?
Oh, wait a second.
Just put your hand there. Stephen, put your hand on top of there. Now, Stephen, enjoy that, because that's what the last time you're going to have the upper hand. Now, I think it's about time I actually give you a quick rundown on the guy who tied the knot today. I know a lot of you know him, but there's a little bit of history here. Now, Stephen, or more commonly known to his friends as Charlie, was born on 12th of February 1976, and he shares a birthday with Charles Darwin and that little-known American, Abraham Lincoln. I checked the charts for this date, and the US #1 on 12th of February 1976 was Paul Simon with 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. This wasn't quite the omen I was looking for, so I thought I'd check what the UK #1 was. And luckily this was Slick with Forever and Ever, and I think you'll agree this is more apt for this occasion. Now, I've been good friends with Stephen since about 1993, just after we left school. It was a strange way we actually became friends rather than just acquaintances. When I say strange, we're playing football, or as you say here, soccer, against each other, when I struck the ball sweetly on the volley. Unfortunately for Stephen, he was only about 2 yards away and standing there legs apart when the ball struck him sweetly in the... you can imagine. However, Stephen did have the last word, as later on the same game, he picked up the ball, danced past 5 players and scored the winning goal. Nearly finished. Now, Stephen has a certain nickname between his closest friends for a while, which was the Big C. However, it didn't stand for Charlie or a certain 4-letter word starting with that letter. No, it stood for commitment, as for a while it seemed that this was a nasty word for him. However, we've all come to realise that it wasn't afraid of commitment, it's just he hadn't yet met the right person. That was until 12th of February 2010, when he finally plucked up the courage to ask Jenny out. However, in true style, the way a man and the way a woman remembers that occasion somewhat differs. Stephen remembers it as her friend mentioned that Jenny liked him, so he just asked her out and had a dance. While Jenny's recollection was a rather drunken Stephen leaning over to her as she passed and simply saying those immortal words, "What's your fancy?" Luckily, Jenny realised what Stephen actually meant. Now, you may have noticed that I've mentioned 12th of February 3 times, because that's right, today is a triple celebration. As well as the wedding day, which is obviously the most important, today is the first anniversary of Stephen and Jenny getting together, and it's also Stephen's 35th birthday.
21.
I know many of you here today thought he was older, but I can assure you he is only 35. Now, very quickly, before I toast the occasion, we've had lots of cards and well wishes from many friends. I couldn't be here today, so I've got one just to read out now. And it's to Jenny. It says, "Dear Jenny, it was nice while it lasted, but I guess we'll have to call it a day now you're married, from Brad Pitt." So, just to wrap this up, I like to say that marriage is not about finding someone you can live with, it's about finding someone you can't live without. Now, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for not falling asleep, and may I ask you to raise your glasses to Stephen and Jenny. May all their ups and downs be between the sheets.